Hello, hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where our decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
How you doing today?
Hey, doing well.
Past 2 weeks we've been talking... Oh, welcome to Season 11, Episode 3? That means it's Episode 103. That's how hot it is outside. And it's the beginning of May. Just kidding, it's not that hot out, I don't think. I hope not.
Seems unlikely. Your AC would be running hard.
Past 3 episodes, we've been talking about past 2 episodes. This is the 3rd episode. We're talking about the new planes for Planechase from March of the Machine. There's 25 new planes. We've talked about 17 of them, which means we've got 8 left. I think I did the math right.
That works out. Because it turns out talking about 8 planes works well in one episode.
Yeah. If you don't know what planes are, if you think we're just talking nonsense right now, make sure you listen to the past 2 episodes, or, I've got some links to some other episodes that we've talked about planes. I think this will be our 5th episode we talk about planes.
Yeah. We're junkies.
Least. Yeah, we are plane chasers, as Bruce calls us.
Yes.
I like plane heads. It's dumb.
Yep.
And just a quick thing, planes are like world enchantments, which means they affect the table. They've got an ability, whether triggered or static. And then they've got an activated ability, kind of. You roll a die, and if you get chaos, the chaos happens. If you roll planeswalk symbol, you planeswalk away to a new plane. You just take the one off the top of the deck, and that one is now in play instead of the other one. It essentially creates new rules for fun and chaos and fun.
Yes.
And it affects the table.
And they're awesome.
Yeah. So we've talked about 17 of them so far. So
let's talk about 18.
Let's talk about number 18.
The Golden City of Orazca.
Ooh, my favorite, on the plane of Ixalan.
Excellent.
Love Ixalan. It was the first plane that we went to when I started Magic. That's how new, I guess. It's been 5 years. I don't know.
You take this one. You take this one.
I'll take it. I'm over here, but yeah. The Golden City of Orazca plane Ixalan, you said already. Ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. I assume this is talking about the active player.
Yes.
So if it doesn't get to your turn, you don't have the city's blessing yet.
That's right.
Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Then draw a card if you have the city's blessing. That's fun. Whenever chaos ensues, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. What?
Ooh.
I not read this card yet. That's...
Okay, so we're rolling?
Yep.
Yeah. When the chaos option is that good, you are rolling. On top of that, you want to get out of here.
Yeah.
If you're not going to roll chaos, you want to be gone. You don't want your opponents to get the city's blessing, and they may very well just get it on the start of their turn because they have 10 permanents. This is Commander. Odds are good that they've got 10 permanents out there. So, yeah, it's just there's... Oh, my... Ugh. Whenever one or more creatures... So, you find somebody to swing at.
Yeah.
You get your creature token, then draw the card.
Treasure token, yeah.
A treasure token. So, it encourages combat because you want the treasure token, you want to draw the card. The treasure token does get you one more step closer to Ascend. So if you were at 9, don't you worry. That treasure token will kick in. You get the city's blessing, and away you go. You get to draw your card. So you're really close. But yeah, it's just you're giving that option up to your opponents over and over again. I don't see the downside in rolling all the time.
Yeah, and I think with the first ability, the thing is to keep in mind. Doesn't trigger per creature, but it does trigger per player dealt damage. So if you attack all 3 of your opponents in an average 4-player game, and they each get hit, you create 3 treasures, and probably, honestly, at this point, you also draw 3 cards.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got 3 creatures out there, because you're attacking all 3 of your opponents. So if you've got 3 creatures, you probably have at least 3 or 4 lands. And that's already 7.
Yeah. And then if you hit the treasures, on each, you get 3 treasures. That's
right.
10.
Now you're at 10. You get the city's blessing. Away you go. And you keep the city's blessing. So if you use the treasures up and now you no longer have 10 permanents, it doesn't matter. The city's blessing is yours for the rest of the game. So, but
that's also a good thing to keep in mind, because if you're attacking, you're worried that your creatures might die, but you'll still keep the city's blessing regardless of if at the time of resolution you only have 6 permanents left. Yeah. Because if it is your turn, you have the ability to gain the city's blessing if you have 10 permanents at one time.
Yeah, and the city's blessing is not the monarch. It's not like only one person can get it.
Right.
If you have it, you get it. It's just I love
it's fun.
I think it encourages everybody to roll as much as you can.
It's flavorful too. It really wants you to attack, get through, and beyond that, have the city's blessing to get just that little bit more value.
Right.
And that chaos ability is nuts.
That is crazy.
This is my nostalgia pick for favorite plane of these new ones, but it just makes me really excited because we're going back to Ixalan at the end of the year.
Oh yeah. No, it's gonna be fun.
Number 2 or 20, however you're counting. Going to Tarkir.
Yes, it's the Great Aerie on the plane of Tarkir. So I assume we're talking about dragons.
Let's find out. You can see some dragons in the art.
I do. When you planeswalk to the Great Aerie, and at the beginning of your upkeep, bolster 3.
What's that mean?
Thank you. Choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control, and put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. This was an ability we often saw when we were in Tarkir. So whenever chaos ensues, choose up to 1 target creature you control, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its toughness to the other. So it's like they fight, but they're not fighting. It's like they're waving their butts at each other. I don't know. But
dragons with big tails, you know?
Yeah, dragons with big tails. So so you're looking at the toughness of the creature,
which makes sense considering bolster is also with toughness.
Right.
What I like is that you'll always, as long as you have a creature, you'll always have a creature to bolster. I know that like with certain similar type mechanics, like mentor. Like you don't always have a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on, but with this, you'll always have a creature that has the least amount of toughness, and if there are multiple, you choose one. I think the biggest thing with this is that it encourages you not to go to combat or like not do combat as often, because you're looking at the toughness of all your creatures. You're putting +1/+1 counters for free. You're putting 3 +1/+1 counters on a creature every turn.
Yeah.
So if everyone feels okay, nobody's going to roll to get away until something happens. Say somebody rolls chaos, or somebody does a board wipe, or something where they provoke everyone else to then either start attacking or trying to get out of here.
Right.
Yeah. If it's a fairly level playing field, it will continue to be level. And then once you get out of here, your creatures are just going to have a lot of counters on them. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't particularly excite me very much. I do like the bolster 3 because I tend to run with a lot of smaller creatures, so I can see that benefiting. But like you said, I mean, everybody's getting this, so
yeah. This is
I don't think it's that big a deal. So all right, next one.
Yeah, next one's the pit. On the plane of the abyss. The abyss of the pit. The pit of the abyss. When you planeswalk to the pit, each player creates their choice of one single 3/3 white angel creature token with flying, or a one single 6/6 black demon creature token with flying trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice another creature. If you can't, this creature deals 6 to you. Whenever you roll chaos, each player sacrifices a non-artifact creature. Yep. It's cool. This feels like old Magic.
Right. So if you roll chaos, you could sacrifice your demon. If you're about to take damage. Mm-hmm. The benefit, of course, is that the demon is going to force you to sack a creature every turn, or take 6 points of damage. 6/6 with flying and trample, and there are so many ways to get rid of creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm taking the demon every time.
So, like, the thing is like, you can't sacrifice the demon to itself. So as long as you have the demon, unless you get 2 demons, I guess, somehow.
Yeah, but I mean, you can sack the demon to any sack outlet you can.
That's true. Yeah.
Or honestly,
use it in combat.
Right. Honestly, 6 points of damage, just not that big. I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to have to deal with it 2 or 3 times, but
right.
I guess the other part is I also hope I'm the last one who gets to choose.
Right.
Because if everybody chooses angels and I'm the only one that chooses demons, we're not going anywhere. Because everybody's just going to sit back and watch me lose a creature every turn because the choice has been made.
Yeah.
So I will be the only one rolling to try and get the hell out of here. And no one's going to want to roll chaos because it means it gives me an opportunity to sack my demon.
Yeah.
So now, if everybody chooses demon, well, then I don't know if you want to stick around or not. I think you want to roll chaos and try and be able to sack the demon if you need to, or leave. So.
Interestingly enough,
yeah,
this demon is the same demon from the saga Rite of Belzenlock.
Oh, okay.
Just interesting, I suppose.
All right.
But it's a cool demon.
It is. I like the art.
I like what it does.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about this.
Standard old school creature.
Yeah.
It's good, so it must do something bad to you.
But I'm sure you'll find a way to make tokens every turn, or a bunch of tokens, so then you just can pay it off for a while.
Sounds good.
Up next, we've got the Plane of Gobakon. We're going to the Western Cloud.
Okay.
Prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures and planeswalkers you control. It's a one-way fog. And this isn't just combat damage. It's just all damage.
Yeah.
This is your turn to play Blasphemous Act.
Oh, yeah.
Also fun, anything that says, like, damage can't be prevented negates this. So, be careful. There are plenty of things that don't allow you to prevent damage. And it would just negate this. Chaos. Whenever chaos ensues, create 3 tapped treasure tokens. They each deal 1 damage to each creature and each planeswalker.
Oof.
Yeah, so that's your opponent's
3.
stuff.
Yeah, that's nasty. Here again, I think you want to roll all the time.
So basically, you're doing 3
After
to
combat.
each of your opponent's creatures and each of your opponent's planeswalkers.
Yes.
My question is, Anointed Procession. So now you make 6. Does it do 3? Like, do you do 6 to everything, or do you do 3 to everything, and you just get 6 treasures? Because it
says create 3 tap treasures, so you'd create 6 tap treasures.
Yep.
And they each deal
Okay.
You do 6. So, yeah, this could get ugly.
Yeah.
3 by itself is already pretty ugly. I mean, think of any time you have a planeswalker out. If it loses 3 loyalty,
Yeah.
it's either dead or you are now having to use the plus ability on the next turn. You don't really have a choice. So that can be nasty. This is also is another one where I think it encourages everybody to just swing for the fences.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I can't, if I'm going to block, I have to be able to have my creatures be so big that I can block yours and they won't die. That's a lot. Your creatures tend to have to be pretty big. Whereas if I think I can get through, I'm going to swing with everything. My creatures aren't taking damage. They're not going to die. Even if you can block, I'm going to get something. Hopefully I get something through.
And for those who are wondering, lore-wise, this is from War of the Spark Teo, the Shield Mage.
Yeah.
This is his plane. And if you read the book, War of the Spark Ravnica, it starts out on this plane. Everybody kind of learns to defend themselves with shields, energy shields. So,
Very cool.
That's been 4 this episode so far. So you know what that means.
Time for a break.
So we'll be right back. We've got 4 left, and then probably no more new planes for years. It's been 10 years since we had the last planes.
Say if the trend continues, we're looking at yet another 10 to 15 years before we see the next bunch. So let's hope these next 4 are awesome.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably see more recently or more like soon. I feel like this time around, and I wasn't here for the last time around. I feel like this time around, it's been getting a lot of praise. I think a lot of people are excited for it, so maybe we'll just continue to get more. Because there are plenty of places on the planes that we already have that haven't been explored. So, speaking of exploring, we gotta explore our sponsors. So we'll be right back. This episode of Temple of Falspot is brought to you by Doubling Season.
Because the Golden City of Orazca will give you extra treasures. The Great Aerie will give you 6 +1/+1 counters. And when you go to the pit, you can get 2 angels. Or 2 demons. And if you go to the Western Cloud, you're going to get 6
treasures.
6
damage.
This episode brought to you by Doubling Season. Back to you, Andy.
Wonderful. We're back. Hello. Wow. Oh, man. This has been a marathon of planes. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was exhausted from all this flying. Boy, are my arms tired. Is that the joke?
I was thinking about it, and we were calling ourselves plane chasers. And then I'm like, maybe we're just pilots because we're big fans of planes. Oh,
I like to think we're just passengers on this mighty fine trip that we call life.
We've jumped to enough planes now that I would think that initial sense you get on the first plane jump when you kind of feel sick because everything's kind of shifted around. But we've jumped so many times now, I think we should be fine.
We're pros at it.
Right.
And I don't mean poets.
Oh, definitely not.
We were talking earlier in this episode about returning to Ixalan. And this next card is also a return that's happening this year. It's the Wilds of Eldraine. The Wilds on the plane of Eldraine says when you planeswalk to the Wilds and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a food token. That's not very exciting. Chaos. Whenever chaos ensues, target player sacrifices a creature. If they do, you create a food token. You create 2 food tokens instead if the sacrificed creature's toughness was 4 or greater. If nobody's playing a food deck, it is fine. Food, for those who don't remember, Costs. It's a token. You pay 2, tap and sack it, gain 3 life. It's an artifact, which is nice.
This is another one of these planes where I feel like you really need to have a deck built around it for it to be effective. So, if you're playing Guillaume as your commander, well, then you're loving this plane. But the way Planechase is really played is that it's chaos. You never know where you're going to go. So if you don't have a deck that's built around this, congratulations. Here, spend 2 mana, gain 3 life. And then for chaos, spend 2 mana, gain 3 life. Because you create 2 food tokens if the sacrifice creature's toughness was 4 or greater. Well, if your opponent has a choice, they're never going to let you do that. And you certainly are not going to be sacrificing your own creature just to get 2 food tokens. That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
So,
what is amazing for me is that if none of your opponents have creatures, chaos doesn't do anything.
Right.
And for those familiar with the cat oven combo, the chaos is the oven, is Witch's Oven. Witch's Oven is tap, sacrifice a creature, create a food token. If its toughness is 4 or greater, create 2. That's this chaos. From Eldraine.
I am significantly underwhelmed.
Honestly, it kind of sums up my feelings of Eldraine as a whole. Is slightly underwhelming. Makes me just want to go to Lorwyn instead.
Yeah. I will say that when this plane comes up, I'm going to roll. Mostly because it's kind of boring and I want to get to something that I think maybe I'll run in. Maybe the next one will be more fun or more dramatic in some way. This one is just more artifacts.
Yeah.
Turns out our sponsor also affects this card a little bit too. So.
Turns out this, with my Prismari deck, just ramps me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just free real estate, baby.
Yeah. This with Bruticlad gives me a couple extra tokens, so I can turn those food into...
You can turn all those mirror into food.
Yes. Yes. I can turn mirror into food, or I can turn food into mirror, or other rather large creature tokens. So...
Aren't we so glad we came back from break for that? Our next one was one of the first that was previewed as they told us that we were going back to Planechase. We got Towashi from Kamigawa, but like new Kamigawa. So like Neon Dynasty era. We got the beautiful painting of Boseiju over Towashi. It says modified creatures you control have trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Equipments, auras you control, and counters are modifications. And then chaos, whenever chaos ensues, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. So you have the choice. You can, if over 2, you can do 2 and 1. Yeah, this is a solid card. This is a solid.
Oh yeah, this is exciting. The easiest way is to modify your creatures with the +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
And it says if you do combat damage to a player or a planeswalker. So a lot of times it's like you have to do damage to the player to get to draw the card. This one, you can do it to the planeswalker as well. So it's not like you feel like you have to give something up by not swinging at the planeswalker. Now you can swing at the planeswalker, and if you do the damage, you get to draw a card. Anytime a card says, go to combat, if you do the right thing, you get to draw a card. It's just encouraging players to go to combat. And if modified creatures have trample, the likelihood that they're going to do combat damage goes way up. I think that's spectacular. And the chaos just makes everything better. So if you need one creature to be big enough to get through, you stack the counters. If you want all of your creatures to have trample and you want to draw multiple cards, because this is whenever this creature deals combat damage. So it counts for all of them. So if you send all 3 at that one opponent who can't stop any of them, they take all the damage and you draw 3 cards. So I think this is great. The trick is that you want to roll the chaos before combat because you want to get more of your creatures modified, or you want to make one of your creatures bigger. But at the same time, you don't want to roll before combat, because if you planeswalk away, then you don't get any of the benefit, you don't get any of the card draws. So I think this card really wants you to roll dice, but when? I guess that will depend on the creatures you have on the battlefield. So
yeah, and it's an interesting ability. The first part is Kodama. Kodama says modify creatures you control have trample. I think it's nice. It's a good card.
Oh yeah, this one's going to be fun. And like I said, I think it's going to lead to some interesting situations where when do you roll the die? Because if you just don't have the ability to hit, you're going to roll the die before combat. If you do have the ability, you're going to wait until after combat. And you're going to want to roll because, I mean, yeah, the chaos is still good even if you're not about to attack that turn because you're getting 3+1/+1 counters. It's also a case of you want to get out of here so nobody else gets that swing, because you really want your opponent's creatures to all have trample and be coming in and smacking you over the head.
Right.
You want to avoid that as much as possible. So I think there's going to be a lot of planar die rolling on this one.
Yeah, and I think that this flavorfully plays obviously with a lot of the Neon Dynasty kind of stuff, but interestingly doesn't do the ninja stuff very well.
Yeah.
Obviously, like ninjutsu stuff, you're gonna lose the counters.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's really the only like flavor fail here. Otherwise, it is a very Neon Dynasty plane. This is gonna go well with my quote unquote no relation deck, my Ukima stalking whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I like it. I like drawing cards. I like big creatures. I like trample, most of all.
I'm a fan of all of those things.
As you should be. Got two more. You want to read the next one?
Sure. The next one is Unyaro, on the plane of Zalfir. At the beginning of your end step, if you planeswalked to Unyaro this turn, untap all creatures. They phase out until a player planeswalks. Treat them and anything attached to them as though they didn't exist. That's what phasing is now.
So, at the beginning of your end step, so like you planeswalk here, you, Bruce, planeswalked here.
Yeah.
Becomes your end step. Everybody's creatures phase out.
Well, everybody's creatures untap. And then they phase out.
Right. So that when you planeswalk away from here, they phase back in untapped.
Yes.
When they phase back in, they continue to hold enchantments and they continue to hold equipment, and they do not need haste.
Right. So what this is saying is, if you have planeswalked here, swing. You want to tap all of your creatures. They're going to untap at the end, along with everybody else's, and then when they come back, everybody's creatures are untapped. So you'll still have blockers. Everyone has blockers. This is your opportunity to swing in, or just to tap your creatures if they get some kind of ability for tapping or whatever. And then on your opponent's next turn, or on the next player's turn, they have no creatures out. They'll be basically playing lands and trying to put creatures back onto the battlefield for themselves, because they're going to want some blockers, because right now nobody has any creatures. So trying to decide if I think that's good or not.
It depends. If you're playing a graveyard
of your
deck,
end step,
right?
So any effort that you're trying to make to get creatures out before your opponents, you're out of luck. You're going to be the last one to put a creature back onto the battlefield.
Well, yeah. But also the things that they're playing may not have haste. But if you're playing a graveyard deck, maybe what you want to do is, Living Dead. Everybody's stuff comes back onto the battlefield. and then it phases out, or you kill all your stuff so that you're not losing anything from the phasing.
Yeah.
And then you can bring it back, however.
Right.
Or see, the tough thing here is how long do you expect to be on this plane? Considering everybody's probably going to try to get their stuff back. Yeah. Everybody's going to be rolling.
Right.
So it might very well not make it back to you. So if you kill everything and then start bringing your stuff back, then
on your next turn, you might be the last person who gets it, and you're going to have to pay to get it back out, and everybody else just got it. I also didn't mention, when chaos ensues, create 2/2 white and blue knight creature tokens with vigilance. Hopefully you're not rolling chaos after you've planeswalked here, because then those tokens are just phasing out. That's more of an ability that the next player and the next player after that get, because then they get to add in creatures that at some point can swing and won't tap. So, I'll be interested. I do think it's you swing early, and then you're pretty much just stuck sort of waiting to see what happens. You're not getting a lot of warning, so it's not like you're getting your hand ready for this to happen, because as soon as you see it is basically when it happens. So if you were planning to cast a creature that turn, you won't. You just wait. Yeah. And for those who are wondering, phasing does not create an enter the battlefield trigger or a leave the battlefield trigger. They just go away, and then they come back. You treat them as though they were always there, but they just weren't there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why Oubliette is so powerful.
I really like this card. I think this is an interesting kind of mass removal spell, in that you just don't know how long you're going to get the reprieve. So this has definitely got chaos written all over it. And I can see everyone rolling a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if they lost a lot of stuff.
For sure.
If one of my opponents or myself have like one creature and somebody else has 8, maybe I'm never rolling. Maybe I just no, we're gonna sit here until I get a chance to build up some defense before you get all of your stuff back.
Yeah. If you're playing against
a
graveyard player, then you don't want to leave here.
Right.
Because they have things in phased out mode. It's not even exile.
Yeah.
It's just nothing can touch it until it comes back. As of yet.
Right.
Yeah. So comes down to our last one, and I believe this is our third prediction. One of our many predictions. Unfortunately, we didn't get a silver bordered or what is that? What's that plane from Unstable?
Oh, all of the unstable cards are in the same.
Bablovia.
Yes.
We didn't get Bablovia. We didn't get the Astro Dome or whatever it's called. I haven't played. Yeah, I haven't played. Unfinity yet. So, but what we did get is our Battle Bond plane, the plane of Kylem. We got Valor's Reach, which is the arena.
Yes.
There. So it says whenever your team attacks with exactly 2 creatures, those creatures gain double strike until end of turn. So the idea behind Battle Bond was that you're playing a 2-headed giant game. So if each of you attack with 1, they each get double strike.
Right, and it specifically says your team.
Right. Which is, it's just a nice little nod, because it's not going to be often that you're playing 2-headed giant.
Right.
You're not playing 2-headed giant and Planechase very often. Knowing your play group,
unless you're awesome.
Yeah. What I like about this is that it's not when you attack with 2 or more creatures. It's exactly 2. So it's much harder to break. but giving things double strike is pretty powerful. Chaos is whenever chaos ensues, untap up to 2 target creatures your team controls. If it's a main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. That's nuts.
So, obviously, this means you're rolling for chaos after your combat.
You can do it before, or I guess, yeah, you're doing it after because you want the untap.
Yeah, I was thinking about the untap.
Yeah, because if you're doing it before, you're untapping untapped creatures to attack, and then you'll get 2 combats, but they'll be tapped unless they've got.
They'll be tapped. Yeah, so
it's a whole mess.
You want to wait until after your combat phase is through, but
which makes sense too, because like you'll want it for your turn, and if you put it off till the end of your second main phase, you'll either be going for another combat or making sure your opponents don't get double strike.
Right.
This is fun. I like this one.
Oh,
it's very middling, which just makes it all the better because it just adds a little bit extra initiative to attack. It just encourages you to attack. It's got that flavor like win in my book, in terms of like, hey, teams, you know.
The interesting part is I can see this being a situation where, you've got your dominant creature, your dragon, your whatever, but the rest of your board is basically just there to do some defense.
Yeah.
They're mid-sized to small players. Well, this says, you willing to sacrifice that one creature to give your dragon double strike? Because that's what you're going to do. I love that option.
Yeah.
The idea of, I got a 5/5 dragon that gets some kind of benefit when it does combat damage or when it does damage. Great. So it swings in. You bring another creature with it. The other creature does some damage to a creature. It doesn't matter. And the dragon does something. You get the benefit. And then it goes through. And then you get the double strike. And all it costed you was one of your creatures. That's damn good. I like this card. I think there are all kinds of interesting ways to abuse it, and it's going to force you to treat your combat a little differently because, sure, if you're playing a bunch of token creatures that are all tiny, then you're not going to swing with just 2 to get double strike. But if you were going to swing with 3 creatures, maybe it's better to just swing with 2. You have to consider the options, and it forces you to really measure your math out a little more. And if I'm looking at my opponents, I'm looking at their stuff thinking, okay, he's probably going to swing with 2 this turn. How is that going to work for my defense? Like, what do I have to keep on tap to manage two creatures swinging at me as opposed to them swinging with 3 or 4? And it can change how you set up your entire game plan, at least until you roll Planechase and away you go off to another plane.
Right. What I like too about this is bring it back even to Norn Seed Core. Giving something double strike in addition to whatever else is happening. Modified creatures get trample. Double strike and trample, extremely powerful combination. What I like about this is it's not going to make anybody too upset. I've played Planechase with people who don't want anything to do with Planechase, and it's a miserable experience for them. I feel like this is less miserable, but it's still a lot of just fun, and you have to have exactly 2 creatures. Well, you can have more than that, but you're attacking with just 2.
Right. No, this is great. I like the card. I like it a lot.
This one feels very Battle Bondy.
Oh yeah, no, they hit the flavor on the plane. I think just perfectly for this one.
And I think it's better than I think my prediction for this one was all your spells get assist, which would have meant nothing.
The assist mechanic just didn't really take off the way I hoped it would, but
because people want to play their own games, not your game.
Yeah.
Which, shame. You gotta find...
My games are fun. Come play my games.
Yeah!
So.
Cool. We did it. We went through all 25 new playing cards. Not playing cards, playing cards. I
don't think this is going to come as a shock to anybody when I say that after having gone through all of them, I think you should all get all of the Planechase cards.
For sure.
Even if you're not using the old school ones, if you're only using these ones, you've got 25 of them. Shuffle them up, stack it in the middle, draw one off the top to start your game, and then just start playing. There's 25 of them. Trust me, you're not getting through all 25 in one game. And with 25, you're going to get enough variety that every game is going to be, you're going to feel, you're not going to be like, oh, this one again. I'm confident that you'll have a good time with it if you like a little chaos in your game. And, well, hey, you're playing Commander. It's a 100-card singleton format. Who doesn't like a little chaos in their game? So get on it.
And what's exciting, too, is that this brings up unique card count to, I believe, 106 or somewhere around there. I think we had 81 total between Planes and Phenomenon before, and now this is 25 more.
Take your word for it.
It
means I got to buy a lot of large sleeves.
Yeah. But yeah, wow. I'm excited for if they ever return to Planechase again. I'm honestly hoping for a return to Battle Bond and or Conspiracy. I'm glad that it is clear that they have not forgotten about either of them. And hopefully we'll see them soon. Normally this episode would have been a deck tale. We may push it off until the latter half of this season because we got BrewCon, baby, which means we're going to be recording in person.
You bet.
It's always exciting. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be returning next week with episode 4.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to us just gab on about Planechase. If you want to talk to us about Planechase, find us on Twitter at FalsePodMTG or Andy Weekend or Mana Burned. All this stuff is after the end. You'll find out how to contact us. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking us into your brains. Because we like hanging out. We sure hope you do too. Have a great night. We're Temple of Falsepod. We're next and unoptimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to say it again. Have a great night, and may your 5th land be the temple.
Bye!
Wait. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or on Twitter at falsepodmtg. Bruce is at ManaBurned, and I'm at Andy Weekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your 5th land be the temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!